So I normally cover Canadian politics because the algorithm historically has not loved when I delve into American stuff. Also, Canada is awesome, and some of our politicians' comically toxic mental illness is much more entertaining than the boring generic insanity found in American politicians. But I have an idea for the Democrats. When they go low, you at least pay attention to why it worked. And then repurpose that to save your fucking democracy so the rest of the world doesn't have to deal with this fucking dumpster fire. I'm sick of living above a meth lab. Specifically, the 2024 election was stolen. I don't care if you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. Hear me out. Not a single American voted for their 401k's value to plummet. Not a single American voted for a war with Canada, be it trade or otherwise. Not a single American voted for planes dropping out of the sky. Not a single American voted for all the crazy stuff that I can't even say. Nobody voted for this. Nobody voted for the CDC getting gagged and thrown into a dark room. If you go on Crystal and Kyle's channel, they did an interview a while ago with Greg Palast, where he talks about how Republican agents, and whether it was legal or not, it was not ethical, dishonestly had enough voters purged from the voter rolls to prevent a fair election. You don't have to claim that Elon figured out a way to compromise the voting machines, but I would not claim that was impossible, given that he was brazen enough to go goosey during the inauguration, and 10 minutes later was violating the Treasury like he was back on Jeff's Island. Start demanding a new election. Start demanding a new election. Not in 2 years, now. Because in 2 years, every state in your union will have its voting systems compromised. The people who wrote your Constitution did not understand narcissism well enough to plan for this. They also probably thought that none of you would be dumb enough to do this, but here we are. Is there a precedent for a new election? I don't think so, but there's no precedent for any of this. Why the hell are any of you acting like the rules still matter? There are no rules. You're in reality TV land. There is no America. It's gone. The thing you claim on camera to love so much, the thing you swore your allegiance to, it's gone. Maybe it never was. But now, it's a demented narcissist idea of great. So stop moving the goalposts for when there's a constitutional crisis. You have been in a constitutional crisis since Citizens United. So stop calling for fairness. Stop pretending your whole caucus cares about trans rights, because let's be honest, if any of you actually cared about that, you would have had better responses to when Republicans brought up women's sports. Like, I don't know, maybe ask them what they thought of the last WNBA game and then point out that none of them watch women's sports. But back on topic. Just call for an election. Our lunatic who looks like this, and I'd play his voice, but my followers would get mad. His poll numbers skyrocketed by just constantly claiming that Justin with the good hair was too much of a coward to call an election. He has no plans. Nobody who can talk to girls likes him. But for months, the whole country was willing to vote for him because he wanted to change the curtains. Thankfully, a month into Trump's newest term, and suddenly Canada remembers that fascism is bad. So that's less of a risk. Now, I realize that Americans don't generally learn things about other countries until you go to war with them. But we're already in a stupid trade war, and I'd like that to end. So call for an election. It doesn't matter that it won't happen. Right now, what are Democrats universally calling for? Getting rid of Musk? Maybe, who cares? Because if he's gone, there'll be some other sociopath to replace him. You've still got Lutnick, you've still got Stephen Miller, you've still got Pam Bondi. And they are acting with impunity. You need to make all of them scared. So think about it. Why did Biden barely accomplish anything worthwhile during his 4 years? Because he was terrified of having Republicans be mean to him. Biden is a narcissist, just like Trump, though not as much, but he is still a narcissist. Yes, Trump is worse, but if you repeatedly demand something that if he was brave, he would do, he'll never be brave enough, but he'll be less brave to do the other shit. You don't react to flooding the zone by constantly trying to play defense. Don't get me wrong, still have the lawyers fight everything in court, but take control of the fucking narrative. You have a platform. Use it. I cannot go on American news every day and call for an election. If you get Jasmine Crockett to go on CNN, do a little dance, and then say Trump's too big of a wuss to call an election, if you get AOC to talk about how real men would call elections, anything like that to make them look silly, you will get under their skin, and they will start making more mistakes, and they will get less comfortable doing insane shit. Best of all, you can tell him that he can pick who he wants to campaign against. He can run against Kamala if he wants again. He can run against Tim Walz if he wants. He can run against Bernie Sanders, or he can run against AOC. Talk about how any Democrat other than Hakeem Jeffries could beat him. Make it so that he looks weak. He hates looking weak. If you do that, he will back away. He's doing this in part because you're not doing anything meaningful. So every month, You should be calling for an election in April, calling for a May election, calling for a June election. Campaign hard against him for every single month. Also, insist that the elections either be run by the UN or, various allies or something, not Russia, but like insist on international monitoring.